we were all looking at a digital transformation, and COVID forced us to accelerate that transformation. I am confident that there will be continued growth given the stage of development that the economy is at. And we have continued to fund our expansion by accessing the capital markets. We have a wide shareholder base, we have very high local ownership but also significant foreign ownership. So the capital markets has enabled us to make large investments like that, and we will continue to do that going forward as well.
Welcome to Stock Pulse. This is a video series produced by the Colombo Stock Exchange where we feature leaders of leading listed companies to enable you to better understand the potential of these companies, so that in your investment decisions you can take these factors into account. From the perspective of the company, this provides an opportunity for listed companies to reach out to investors and shareholders using our social media platforms. Today we have with us Mr. Krishant Balendra, the Chairman and CEO of John Keells Holdings PLC. Krishant, thank you for joining us for our first edition of Stock Pulse. First of all, I'd like to thank you for sparing the time to be with us today amidst your busy schedule.
Pleasure to be here.
And we'll start off with the burning question of the day, the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
I know it's unprecedented and unexpected.
Yes.
But in your opinion, if you take the pandemic, do you think that your group has faced other challenges? And can you compare that to the pandemic in any way, and how you have overcome those?
As a group, we've of course faced many challenges and many unexpected events, but very different to the pandemic. If you look at our history, we had a 25-year war, and there were instances of bomb explosions in Colombo, curfews and so on, which disrupted business. We've lived through global financial crisis, difficult economic times in Sri Lanka. We even had the tsunami in 2004. Now, if you take the tsunami as an example, really in terms of the business impact, it was a few of our hotels that were impacted, that were on the beach. And none of the other businesses were directly impacted. And tourism also was impacted for a short while, but it came back very, very quickly. The pandemic in that way has been unprecedented. For weeks, all our supermarkets were closed. And for the first time ever, for an extended period, we had zero occupancy. We had to close our hotels. Now, not even at the height of the war did we have to close our hotels, and did we have zero occupancy. So I would say that this is unprecedented and very different to anything we have faced before. But at the same time, we are confident that while it has now been a year, that the world will come out of this. So the war, the impact at any given moment was not as severe, but the war went on for 25 years. But COVID is different because it is very likely that gradually now going forward, we will go back to normal.
It's good to hear that. And from what you're hearing from your company CEOs, from your departmental leaders, even your customers, what will a return to normal look like in a post-COVID era? I mean, any thoughts?
My view is that it won't be too different to before. Business anyway, if you look at our group, except for tourism, whether it's the consumer side, soft drinks, insurance, the port, business is back to normal, close to normal. What has changed is that there are certain health protocols we are following, And I think post-COVID as well, certainly the health protocols will reduce, people will become more confident, but some protocols will continue. I think there are some good disciplines that will continue. In the tourism side as well, I think it will be the same when the recovery does come. It will be back to what it was, largely back to what it was. The one difference, of course, is that we were all looking at a digital transformation, and COVID forced us to accelerate that transformation. So you will see more online ordering for the supermarkets, you will see more online bookings in other businesses, but I don't think it's going to be a complete transformation at all. I think we will be back to where we were pre-COVID, except for a small change in that there will be more digital use.
So let's elaborate a little on the tourism industry, and I think that's one of the industries, as you said, was directly impacted.
Yes.
And something that many people really still talk about.
Yes.
What is your view on a 12-month horizon as to the industry itself, and what do you think are the challenges going forward given the situation now with somewhat of normalcy returning?
Yes.
How do you see it, and what kind of other challenges do you anticipate in the next, say, 1 year?
Yeah, I think one way of trying to see how the next 12 months will pan out is to look at what has happened in the last 6 months in the Maldives. The Maldives, being so dependent on tourism, they opened their airport in mid-July, and anyone can go into the Maldives. There's a PCR test on arrival. You go to your island, and there is nothing else. You can have a normal holiday. So it was a slow start. August was slow, but each month got better, and now we are seeing close to 60% occupancy. Even without a vaccine being rolled out, we are seeing 60% occupancy. So similarly in Sri Lanka, we have just opened the airport end of January. February was better. Each month will get better, and now with the vaccines also being rolled out, I believe that the second half of this year will see a good recovery. And the moment people are vaccinated and have the confidence to travel, there is a lot of pent-up demand. We can see it in the forward bookings. People have not traveled for a year now, and by June it will be more than a year. So they have more savings, they are waiting to travel, and I think that we may see by the end of the year an unprecedented demand because of the pent-up demand. So there could be a V-shaped recovery in tourism, and I think Sri Lanka, having not had such a bad community spread, and given that we are also now rolling out the vaccines, we will be able to open out faster than a lot of other countries. So we might be like the Maldives, we might be one of the few destinations people can travel to, at least to begin with. So that is also positive in terms of the tourism outlook. I think the health protocols will continue. There will be mask wearing for staff, distancing, not having large groups, and so on. But that also over time, I'm confident we can relax. So overall, it's taken a little longer than I thought, but by the second half of this year, I think we will see a good recovery in tourism.
I think that's some very good news and a very positive outlook. I think even where the stock market is concerned, so we can expect good things in the future.
Yes.
Moving on to some of the other industries that John Keells particularly is invested in, what are the sectors you see having the potential for growth in the near term?
I think across the businesses, tourism we spoke about, it's been very bad now. So from that base, we will bounce back, and I think it will be a sharp recovery. But across the sectors, our consumer foods business has been doing well. Supermarkets business, we are expanding. And if you look at those businesses, penetration still in Sri Lanka is low. You take the supermarkets as an example, only about 16 or 17% of grocery consumption in the country happens in the modern, what is called the modern format in supermarkets. In other countries like Thailand, Malaysia, which are also quite rural, that is more than 50% grocery shopping in supermarkets. Similarly, you look at the tourist arrivals that we had even prior to the bomb attacks in 2019, we peaked at about 2.2 million tourists. In 2019, the small island of Bali got 7 million tourists. So when we look at and say, yes, there is an oversupply of hotel rooms, you have to look at it in the context of the potential compared to other countries. We are really catching up after 25 years of war. So similarly, other industries, life insurance, penetration is very low in Sri Lanka and it's growing. And I think that momentum will continue. The Colombo port, again, we are a major hub port, but the total capacity is about 7 million containers a year. If you look at the other hub ports in the region, Singapore does more than 40 million a year. Hong Kong does 25 million a year. Shanghai does 25 million a year. So again, there is so much potential for growth in ports and logistics. So when I look across our businesses, I am confident that there will be continued growth given the stage of development that the economy is at.
So I think you all are well poised to exploit and make use of the opportunities that are presenting themselves, I think, across a wide array of industry that you're involved in. Just a quick follow-up question on, say, for example, supermarkets. With the pandemic, has digitization helped to further the business potential of some of your consumer sectors? Is it going to have a positive impact for growth?
I think there are two ways of looking at digitization. One is from an operational aspect, digitization improving efficiencies. So in day-to-day operations, using digital solutions to improve efficiencies. The other, of course, is for customers, the online experience for customers. So in terms of improving our efficiencies, operating efficiencies, it is something we started even pre-COVID, that is continuing and it is having a big impact. Pre-COVID, if you take the supermarkets, online ordering was marginal. We had less than 100 orders a day. That has now gone to about 1,000 orders a day, but it's still marginal in terms of our overall revenue. I believe that will continue to grow, but if you look at even other countries where online is more developed, in the grocery space, online is not that material. People still prefer to walk into stores and see the fresh items themselves. It will grow, but it will take time. So,
okay. Krishan, turning to capital markets. Going forward, will John Keells continue to access capital markets to fund growth and for funding requirements?
Yes.
And if so, why would you do that?
I mean, we would. If you look at our history, we have been like a pioneer in accessing the equity capital markets in particular to fund our growth. We have done numerous rights issues, and also we were the first Sri Lankan company to list overseas with global depository receipts, with GDRs, listing in Luxembourg in 1994. And we have continued to fund our expansion by accessing the capital markets. We have a wide shareholder base. We have very high local ownership, but also significant foreign ownership. Some of the major foreign institutions that invest in emerging markets are invested in John Keells. And as we expand and do large projects, if you look at, we have done the largest investments in the private sector at the time. The investment in the port was at the time the largest private investment. Then Cinnamon Life is the largest private investment. So the capital markets has enabled us to make large investments like that, and we will continue to do that going forward as well.
Great. And also, given your involvement in capital markets, firstly, I think as a director of a company that has made use of the capital market, subsequently as chairman of the stock exchange, can you share a perspective of how companies can use the capital market effectively to accelerate their growth, for example?
Yes, I mean, it's something that I would encourage. I think there are a lot of private unlisted companies, family-owned companies, where people are a little shy of listing. I would say that it is another source of capital, and it can enable faster growth, and there is nothing really to fear. Our experience has been very positive. In some countries it can be expensive to be listed. In Sri Lanka it is not the cost of being listed is not so high, and some of the governance requirements and disclosure requirements helps to bring operating discipline to your company. When you have people from outside studying your company, making suggestions, it also forces you to be more disciplined, to focus on returns and growth and efficiencies. So going from our experience, where we were a tightly held company 30-40 years ago, to being a broadly owned company, it has been positive and something I would encourage others to follow.
Shan, you spoke about your investor base. I think John Keats has a very good mix of both foreign and local, institutional and retail. And I think part of the success is that you have had a very strong investor relations outfit also at John Keats. So how do you drive shareholder value in the group?
We are very focused. Our main driver is return on capital. And if we feel a business can't achieve our return on capital hurdles, we would look to divest, we would look to exit. If you look at one good example is we were the largest owner of plantations in Sri Lanka. And in the mid-2000s, we felt that the plantations would not be able to achieve at any point, or at least in the medium term, our return on capital hurdles. So we exited from plantations. Like that, we have exited from many other sectors, and we continue to be very focused on that. So shareholder value is the primary driver for the organization, and even now we continue to regularly monitor the portfolio. There are certain businesses that have above average returns on capital, some are below average, but we feel with those that are below average that it's more a short-term phenomenon because we are in an expansion phase and in an investment phase, and we are confident that in the medium term we will achieve our return hurdles. But at any point, if we feel we can't achieve our return hurdles, we will exit. Because as I said, again, one of the disciplines of being broadly owned and owned by such a wide investor base is that it forces you to be disciplined on shareholder value. So we will not take our eye off the ball on that.
That's great to hear. And finally, any message that you have for shareholders and potential investors who would want to invest?
Yeah, I think it's important to take a medium to long-term view. There will always be short-term volatility, short-term ups and downs. The equity markets, if you look at it, historically have always given better returns than other types of investing if you pick the right companies and if you stay for the long term. What I said earlier to private companies, unlisted companies, don't be shy of listing because it becomes another source of capital and it can accelerate your growth and it can bring certain disciplines. So overall, my message to companies is look at going ahead and listing. To investors, take a medium to long-term view. I am very positive on the potential of the Sri Lankan economy. I spoke about some of our sectors. So it's a positive outlook in my view.
Thank you, Krishan, and thank you for taking the time to join us on Stock Pulse today.